Hey guys, TommyBryson here, and here are 7 questions you're supposed to ask yourself before you actually purchase a car, whether it's new or whether it's used. And I learned throughout the years of experience that when you want something, the last person you want to ask is yourself and the person that's actually trying to sell you that item or that thing or that service. For example, if you really want a car, automatically you're going to start justifying in your mind why you want it, why you need it, why it's the perfect car, why it's such a good deal. And if you're asking the dealer or the salesperson, hey, do you think this is actually like a good investment? You think it's a good vehicle? You think it's reliable? Of course, it's going to tell you, yeah, it is, right? Because obviously you have two people that want the same thing and they want to convince each other. So the dealer is going to tell you, yeah, sure, they want to make a sale. And you're going to tell yourself, yeah, sure, because you want to make a purchase. And you might not be honest with yourself. So these 7 questions are going to keep you good and honest as far as, do I actually need this car, and if it actually is a good investment for you. Now, do me a favor and smash the like button. I appreciate it a ton. Now, the very first question you actually want to ask yourself is, can I afford to buy this car? This question almost seems like fundamental, like the very first question you should be asking, which is, can I afford this car? But more than often, when you're walking into a dealership or when you're trying to get a loan for a car, the question you're asking is not, can I afford the car? The question you're asking is, can I afford the monthly payments? Do I have enough money every single month to be able to cover this expense? If the answer is yes, I'm good to go. I can afford it. The truth is no. Here's a common rule I try to follow. I like the Dave Ramsey idea of, if you're going to buy a car, make sure it's no more than half your annual income and pay cash for it. I think that's a good rule. I also like the other rule by the book about old money, which is by Byron Tully, I think his name is. And he basically says, try to buy a car that's no more than 10% your annual income. I think that's a little bit more extreme, but it's also a good rule. But I like my rule, which is basically buy the car you can afford to pay for in cash. I think that's amazing. And you want to buy a car that's actually reliable. And if you buy a car that way, you can actually afford it because you won't have any payments and it won't be such a big burden over you. Now, the second question is going to be, can I afford to own this car? I think it kind of sounds like, well, if I can afford the car, right, then obviously I can afford to own it. But the truth is no, because there are things to consider. For example, maintenance. You also have insurance, and on top of that, you also have, for example, the gas, right? The mileage of this car. I know someone, let's say, for example, there's a car selling for $5,000 and you have $5,000 in your pocket. That's cash money, right? You can afford to buy it. That's what you would say. But the second question would answer differently, because if you ask yourself, can I afford to own this car? The question would be, well, what car is it? Well, it's actually a 2002 Toyota Tundra or a Ram, a big truck, okay, which is basically just gonna eat up your whole pocket with gas and maintenance problems and issues, and the insurance is going to be every single month. The answer is maybe you can't afford this car. Maybe no, okay? So that's a big thing. Or you're trying to look into a luxury vehicle. Yes, I have $15,000 to buy this BMW, but when the car breaks down, those parts, I can't afford them. That maintenance, I can't afford it, okay? The mileage, is crazy. It's not efficient. I can't afford it. You might be able to afford to purchase something, but you might not be able to afford owning it. Now, number 3, the third question that you want to ask yourself is going to be, does this vehicle work for me on a daily basis? I have a friend, okay? Very successful, by my standard, I guess. He actually works in technology and I think software, maybe IT. I don't even know what he does, but I know he works in an office setting. And he has, okay, a Toyota Tacoma that costs over $40,000. And you may ask me, can he afford this? The answer is no. He had to basically get payments to be able to afford it. Can he afford to pay this every single month, okay, to actually own the vehicle? Obviously, probably maybe he can, because there's not that much maintenance. But when you come to the third question, does this make sense on a daily basis for someone that's just commuting from point A to point B? No. Why do you need a pickup truck? It makes no sense. I love the example of Look at cars as if they're, for example, like a stove, okay, where you cook things. If you know how to cook, you might get this example. But the idea is, when you're looking to buy a stove, you want to get a good deal. You want to purchase something that's going to be reliable, that is not going to give you problems. When you buy a stove, you buy it for cooking. You're not going to buy, for example, an industrial stove with like 20 burners, because you don't need that much. You need like 4 at most. Now you have your little stove. Good, solid. If the stove breaks down, what are you gonna do? Try to repair it. You're not gonna go buy one immediately. On top of that, if it's been 5 years and the stove is still working, are you gonna change it? No, of course not, because you understand this is something I use for utility, right? It needs to benefit me. It's for my benefit. I'm not gonna spend more money on it. Same thing with the car. Cars are just for utility. They're for functionality. They're not for status or any of that nonsense, okay? So that's the way I look at it. I think that's super important. Now, the fourth question you should ask yourself is, do I actually need this car, and why do I want this car? If you don't need a car, that's good. It's like saying, I don't need to buy this. Isn't that great? You know, when I went to college, if the professor said, you don't need this book, I'm not gonna go out there and buy the book because it's expensive, right? No, I don't need it. Great. Clap, clap. Same thing. If you don't need a car, take pride in that, okay? Because you can get around with a bus or a train or even a bike. When I was in New York, that's pride, okay? I don't need a car. Don't need to spend money on that. But also, why do you want the car? Super important. If the reason you want the car is because you think having a sports car is going to make you cooler, is going to get you some points with the ladies, and it also says something about your character, the answer is those are emotional issues you need to fix that money is not going to fix, and neither is having a car. So if you do need a vehicle, get the right vehicle. Take pride in getting a good deal and getting what you need. Don't take pride in getting a sports car, a luxury vehicle, unless you can afford those things and make sense with your lifestyle. But if you don't need it, take pride in getting something you need that you can actually get for a very good deal. Now, number 5 is am I making an emotional decision when it comes to purchasing this car? Some things you might hear in your head that might give you some hints that you are making an emotional decisions are basically, I love this car. It's my favorite car. It's the car I always dreamed about. It's the car I deserve. This car is amazing, because usually it means that you're biased. You know, the real like talk in your mind should be, is this car good quality? Does it function correctly? Is it going to be reliable? Can I buy this car used for like 50% off? Does this car still have a bunch of life in it? How are the parts going to work? Are they going to be cheap or expensive to actually replace? Okay, those are the real questions. You should not be making emotional decisions when it comes to this car. Talking about like, oh, I feel great in this vehicle. Who cares how you feel in this vehicle? Oh my gosh, I just feel amazing going down the road in this vehicle. No, like of course you want to be comfortable, but don't make it an emotional decision when it should be a logical, decisive decision. Now, number 6, guys, is going to be, have I considered all of my options? You know, my wife at the time, when she was actually my girlfriend, she was looking for a car to actually purchase. And she had 2 options. And option 1 was buy a Mini, which is one of those like cars that are like mini for the most part. And option 2 was buy a Honda Fit. Now, you may ask me, like, why these 2 options? The idea is she gave herself these 2 options in her brain, this or that. But there is a vast amount of cars out there. So you have to consider your options. She ended up going for a Toyota Corolla 2017, because once she realized, hey, mini cars are made by BMW, the parts are going to be expensive. They tend to break down also, and they're going to give you issues. That's not good. And long-term wise, it's probably not going to be a good family car. Honda Fits are expensive. I can get a Toyota Corolla basically for the same price or under, and I can have more space, and I can also have more clearance. Yeah, there you go, clearance, because you know the Fits are very low to the floor, so having to pass, for example, like a bump is like a whole problem. But she considered all her options and she weighed them, and she made a logical decision that she's happy with. I think making logical decisions should make you happy, not buying things that you actually like and are emotional about make you happy. I think that's a bad perspective when it comes to money and buying things that are just for functionality for the most part. Now, number 7 and the last question you should be asking is, are you having second thoughts? I think this is obviously like massive. I think sometimes we kind of hear this idea of just go for it. Don't think about it. No, think about it. And when you make the decision, you're not supposed to be like, is this a good idea? I just don't know. You should come to the point of when you're purchasing this vehicle that you feel like, I know more about this vehicle than the owner. I know everything about this vehicle that I need to know. The only things I don't know, I can probably manage it with a mechanic. I know I'm making a good deal. That's the attitude you should be feeling when you're purchasing a vehicle, not, hey, what's gonna happen if I can't make these payments? What's gonna happen if it breaks down? Should I really buy it? But there's this one, what do I do? I think indecision is not where you wanna be. That's why you have to make a decision before you actually go car hunting and have a few options. So when you find what you're looking for, you can take advantage right there without letting procrastination take over. Now guys, that is basically it for this video. Those are 7 questions that I would ask myself personally when it comes to buying a car. And I actually got these questions from the book called The Book About Old Money by Byron Tully. It's a great book. If you want to read it, I'm going to put a picture right here. Find it and read it. It's a great book. There are things I don't like about the book. I don't like everything about it, but it's solid overall. Thanks for watching though. Like this video. If you're new here, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time, and peace.